Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the instant match reaction. Everton 1, Manchester United 2 at Goodison Park this evening. Everton's first defeat in 7 Premier League games, obviously unbeaten in 6 prior to tonight, and a really poor performance by Everton. Let's be honest, let's not sugarcoat it, let's not wrap it up for something that it wasn't. It was a really poor performance by Everton Football Club today. I don't quite want to say a reality check, but it was almost a reminder of where we currently are at the moment as a football club, and that is, much more improved to what we were last season. When you think back to, last season, this was a team that barely survived relegation by only a couple of points, coming up against a team who, haven't quite been the side that they had been for the previous 10-15 years before that, when they dominated English football, but still a team that, were always finishing in European places, were always sort of a challenger to, those top 4 sides, and even in recent years a challenger to Manchester City for the league title. And today was a little bit of a reminder of that. Look, this Manchester United team are absolutely nowhere near what they once were, and nowhere near close to being what they once were, but they're still a very good side. They're still a side with a £100 million player on the wing who scored the first goal for them today, and then a lad who's got 800 and however many goals in his career, and arguably one of the best footballers of all time who scored their second. And it was almost a little bit of a reminder of where Everton were. We were poor today. We were really poor, and ultimately I think we fell into the trap a little bit of playing the club rather than playing the team. And don't get me wrong, as I said, this is still a good Manchester United side, a Manchester United side with a lot of attacking threat, with a lot of attacking power, with a decent defence, and with a midfielder which consists of, a player who got man of the match in a Champions League final less than 12 months ago. So it's still a good Manchester United side, but I think we beat ourselves today, if I'm being perfectly honest. And the reason for that is because I think we showed them far too much respect in that first half, and I think we were very nervous. We looked very nervous. We looked very shaky. We looked very sort of off it. We looked tired. We didn't look quite on the game, and that's unlike this Everton team, and it's unlike what this Everton team has been for for the last couple of months or so. It was really strange to see, players sort of panicking and worrying and not really knowing what to do with the ball, and falling under the pressure of, what is a good Manchester United team, but ultimately a team that we shouldn't really have been doing that against. And, another 2 individual mistakes have cost us ultimately, 2 by players that, on another day are the 2 best players on the pitch. I mean, Alex Iwobi, I still think was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt today, even though it was his mistake that directly led to the second goal. Garner was dreadful. Let's have it right. I love Idrissa Gana again. I think he's been absolutely fantastic since rejoining Everton. But he was absolutely dreadful today. And sometimes when you make 2 mistakes against a team in Manchester United who we've already established that are very good on the counter-attack, and you allow a £100 million player a one-on-one opportunity, and then you allow, a player with 800 and however many, or 900 however many career goals to his name to have another one-on-one opportunity, you're going to concede goals. We were really poor in that first half. We were really poor. I think it was probably the worst half of football Everton have played this season. Some would say that performance as a whole was the worst performance that we've put in all season, and I think there's definitely an argument for that. I think we improved in the second half slightly, in the sense of that there wasn't as much nervousness. I don't think there wasn't as much tension, there wasn't as much panic in that second half. We actually picked our heads up and got at Manchester United, and almost acted as if they were a team that could be beaten, and a team that could that you could create chances against. But we still just didn't have that quality in the final third. Bringing Dominic Calvert-Lewin on with 15 minutes to go just ultimately wasn't enough, and we just didn't have enough to trouble them. And look, I don't particularly think it's a game that we should be too overly disheartened by. I know people will look at it and say, well, we've got Tottenham next away, and then we've got Newcastle away. I think on another day we get something out of this game. That first half for me, I strictly put it down to us allowing them far too much time on the ball, giving them far too much respect. as I said, playing the club rather than playing the team, and almost coming into the game with this nervous sort of attitude of, oh shit, we're playing against Manchester United, which is unlike this Everton team, because as I said in previous weeks, when we've gone 1-0 down or when we've come up against a decent team, we've rose to the challenge. And I thought one thing that was really, really interesting was, and I don't know if anybody else seen it, you may have caught it if you were at the game, is when Iwobi scored the opener, which, by the way, was an absolute worldie of a strike, and a goal that Alex Iwobi is so deserving of, given his performances this season. And as I said, even though he ultimately was at fault for their second and their winner, he was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt again today. But if you watch the celebrations after that goal, something is really, really evident for me, and I've seen it in person because it was just below where I sit. And what it was Connor Cody and James Tarkowski, but more so Connor Cody, almost going up to everybody within that huddle when they were all celebrating with Alex Iwobi, and you can see him sort of standing there, and everybody's in front of him, and he's telling everybody to calm down. He's telling Iwobi to calm down. He's congratulating him on his goal, but he's saying to everybody, right, come on, settle this now. We need to settle this. And that's because even within the first 5 minutes, the leaders on the pitch and the players that have been so consistent for us over the last few weeks could tell that it was a nervy performance. We were allowing Manchester United to control our sort of mentality, if you like, as much as the ball. And they were the better team today. I've not got any real complaints about it. We deserved absolutely nothing from the game, and we got nothing from the game ultimately at the end of it. Does that mean it's the end of the world and, oh my God, we're absolutely dreadful and we should be worried? Absolutely not, because there was always going to be games where we come up against better sides and we struggle and we lose, and we have to sit here and say, do you know what, we're just not at that level. We can't sit here and go, well, Man United are absolutely woeful. They're woeful when you compare them to Manchester City, who are by and far the best team in this league by a country mile. They're woeful when you compare them to other teams in Europe. They're not woeful compared to a team that barely survived relegation last season. They've got a £100 million kid on the wing, and as I said, they can afford to bring on arguably the best footballer of all time, within the opening half an hour, to replace another one of their players that cost them 50-60 million or something like that. So look, Everton were poor today. We were, and as I said, I think on another day, if we go into the game with maybe a little bit more confidence and less nervousness and show them a little bit less respect, then I think we're capable of getting something out of that game. Because every time we put a little bit of pressure on Manchester United, they made mistakes, whether it be losing the ball, whether it be putting the ball out of play, whether it be whether it be giving us the possession back in the middle of the park. They made mistakes every time we put a bit of pressure on them, and as I said, I think we just sort of crumbled under our own pressure a little bit, and we didn't have the quality ultimately to come off the bench and change the game. I thought James Garner come on and ran round a little bit. Didn't do an awful lot, but he ran round a little bit. He had the shot which was well saved. Dom come on, and I just don't think could put himself about enough, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd have had Dominic Calvert-Lewin on at half time if it was me, and some people may sit there and go, well, he's obviously not fit to come on at half time. He obviously wasn't ready, or he wasn't able to come on at half time. Listen, if he's on the bench, he's fit enough to come on at half time. If he's on the bench, he should have been fit enough to come on within the opening 5 minutes had Neil Maupay gone down with an injury. It's as simple as that. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin on at half time might have changed it for us, because as I said, I thought we were better in the second half. We still weren't great, but we were better. We looked less nervy. We looked a bit more confident. We looked a bit more like getting at them and almost rising to the occasion of, these aren't that great here. But we just couldn't create anything. We just didn't have that quality. I thought both wingers were poor today, Gordon and Gray. I thought Gordon was completely out the game. And one thing I want to say about Anthony Gordon actually is I've seen a lot of things on Twitter, on social media, regarding Anthony Gordon tonight, and it almost seems like he's being scapegoated a little bit, and we have to be careful with this, because we've done this before of picking on one specific player and everything being their fault and everything being down to them. And look, Anthony Gordon was woeful today. Absolutely woeful. He was awful. He wasn't in the game. He didn't seem particularly, bothered. He wasn't very good. And the argument there was to be had as, should he have been back in that starting 11 anyway, given Dwight McNeil took his place last week and scored what was ultimately the winning goal. He was awful today, but Seamus Coleman was fucking awful. Jordan Pickford's kicking was awful. Adissa Gay was absolutely awful. Vitaly Mykolenko was terrified to run down the line because of the pace that that Antony had, or the quality that Antony had. Vitaly Mykolenko was terrified to get at him. Onana was probably one of our better players, but still wasn't as what he's been. Iwobi made the mistake, which led to the goal, even though he put in a good performance. Neil Maupay, as I said, wasn't particularly great today. Damari Gray was awful. So, yes, Anthony Gordon was poor today, and he was really, really poor, and I understand that. But, let's not look at one player and say, oh my God, he was fucking atrocious today. What's he done to deserve to play for Everton, when every one of them were atrocious? That first half was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. It was maybe only Iwobi, and I thought the two centre-halves played well as well. I don't think the two centre-halves could have done any more, to be perfectly honest with you. Both goals come from mistakes. Again, when you've got one of the best footballers to have ever lived and an £100 million kid running at you, it's difficult to be able to defend against them. But other than the two centre-halves and Iwobi, I thought everybody could have been better today. So it's not just an Anthony Gordon thing. Everybody could have been better. Look, it's one of them. It's one of them games. We've lost it ultimately. The Blues says if he's on the bench, he's fit enough to play. Might be the most dinosaur-esque cliche about we've seen these players on the bench who aren't fit to play a minute. Well, then he shouldn't be on the bench. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's not fit. He shouldn't be on the bench. I don't care whether it would wind fans up. I don't care whether it would frustrate people. I don't care whether it would look bad because Frank Lampard had said yesterday that he was fit to play. If Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't fit to be called upon when he's needed, then he should not be on that bench. And he was fit because he come on with 15 minutes to go and he ran round and he got himself involved and he was in with the physicality of the game and he looked okay. So why couldn't he have been put on at half time when it could have made a difference to this game? I'm not saying it would have, but all as we saw in that second half was big, long balls, lumped balls up, lumped crosses into the box. What was happening is whenever one of the wingers, what would happen is the ball would get lumped up, Maupay would go and win it, he'd get it out to one of the wingers, and then he'd be stood next to the winger, and whoever it was, whether it be Gordon, Gray, or Iwobi when he went at right back, which I thought he'd done well at right back, by the way, when they're looking in the box to throw a ball in the box, there's nobody in there because your striker is stood on the wing next to you because he's just won the ball in that area. Don't get me wrong, Manchester United, again, have got a decent defence. They've got a lad there who's about 5'3", not much bigger, if not maybe even smaller than Neil Maupay, and he wasn't put under enough pressure today. Although, he was kicking people left, right and centre, and the referee was letting him get away with it, he wasn't put under enough pressure today, and I just think Dominic Calvert-Lewin on, with 45 minutes to go there, may well have changed the outcome of the game. We may well have had another 2 or 3 crosses that would have went into him, and he might have got on the end of one of them. Amadou Onana took one of them straight off his head towards the end of the game. He was unlucky with another one when he headed it, and I think one of their players defended it on the line. So, listen, it's small margins. It's absolutely small margins, and at the end of the day, we've lost the game. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. It's disappointing to lose that unbeaten run. And it was an opportunity today to really sort of push ourselves up that table. We'd have gone above Liverpool. We'd have gone above Man United. We'd have gone above teams that, people were looking at as top 4 contenders. And obviously it's still early on in the season. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. But we'd have been able to put ourselves in a position where we'd have gone, do you know what? We're looking really, really good here. However, I don't think that necessarily means we should be in meltdown now. I don't think it should be, oh my God, we've lost the game, we're absolutely awful, the world's ending, because it's not. It was just a little bit of a reality check of what we are and where we are at the moment. And that is a team that are much more improved, a team that are much better, a team that have got much more organisation, much more leadership in there, but a team that are still susceptible to making mistakes. And when you make mistakes against sides like Manchester United with the firepower that they've got, although they mightn't be a great Manchester United team, look at Man City last week. Man City are, by and large, the best team in the country. Now, I know Arsenal are doing well at the moment, but Arsenal will fall off. Manchester City are, by and large, the best team in the country, one of the best teams in the world. They made 3 mistakes last week, and Manchester United scored 3 goals. So if the best team in the country, possibly one of the best teams in the world, well, definitely one of the best teams in the world, can make a couple of mistakes and this Manchester United team capitalise on them, then obviously if Everton were to make a couple of mistakes, then, they were going to capitalise on them. And that's exactly what they did. We weren't ran ragged, we weren't absolutely battered, we were poor today, we were really, really, really poor. and we lost the game on 2 individual mistakes that shouldn't have happened. A Ghana game mistake that, 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen, and a Wobie mistake which 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen because of how great he's been. And even though we were very poor, even though we gave them too much respect, even though we backed off them, even though we allowed them all of the space, even though we weren't in the game whatsoever and we were really, really poor, we still have lost the game through 2 individual mistakes that could have been avoided. After going 1-0 up through a world class finish by Alex Iwobi. So, listen, we weren't very good today. We're going to have games this season where we aren't very good. We'll have games where we are very good. We'll have games where we're not good and we win. We'll have games maybe where we are good and we don't get anything out of it. That's football, and that's where we are at the moment. It's disappointing. It is really, really disappointing. It's disheartening, but I don't think it's something we should be the end of the world over. I get when you look at some of our upcoming fixtures, you've got Tottenham away, which will be incredibly difficult. And you've got Newcastle away. But, again, I don't know whether it's just me. We looked tired today as well, to be fair. I think that's one thing that become quite evident as we looked a little bit tired. We looked a little bit worn out. And you might say, well, how come? Because, they've had a week's rest and this, that and the other. But ultimately, the way we're playing at the moment is very draining on footballers. The way Frank Lampard has got them playing, have given absolutely everything all the time. Battling, throwing tackles in, working hard, fighting for everything. There is going to be games where we just look a little bit shattered. And today was one of them. But ultimately, listen... I might be the only one who's seeing this. Some people might agree, some people mightn't agree. But I just think we played the club today a little bit more than what we played the team. And Manchester United are a good team and they've got good attacking players. But I think in that opening 20 minutes, even when we went 1-0 up, I wouldn't say it was against the run of play because we'd had a couple of opportunities to counter-attack them. But from the off, it was sit back and allow them to have all of the ball. And maybe that was the tactic by Frank Lampard. For me, that's the wrong tactic. The right tactic is to get at them and to put them under pressure. Now, Frank might have been looking at it thinking, well, if we got at them and we put them under all sorts of pressure, then, you're susceptible to a counter-attack goal, and look at all of the quality that they've got on the in their forward line, and that's fine. But I just think sitting back against a team like Man United is inviting them to create opportunities, inviting them to put pressure on you, and that's why Erik ten Hag made the decision to bring Cristiano Ronaldo on. That is exactly why Anthony Martial was taken off and Cristiano Ronaldo was put on, because Erik ten Hag could sniff from early on in the game that we were sitting back and we were inviting them on, and he just knew if somebody's going to pop up and get a winner, it'll be this lad, and it was. Ultimately, it was. He was right. But, look, it is what it is. We've lost the game of footy. It's not the end of the world. They made some good signings in the summer and they showed today. We made some great signings in the summer and they've showed for the last 4, 5, 6 weeks or so. You just have to pick ourselves up and go again. Tottenham will be difficult, but we won't play a Tottenham team where I think we're feared as much as what we did today, strangely, and we shouldn't have. But there was an air of nervousness today, and I don't really know why. The atmosphere wasn't great either, to be fair. It was a little bit lively after we got the goal, but it wasn't great. And ultimately, a 7 o'clock kick-off on a Sunday night in the pissing down rain, it is one of them. But I think individual mistakes, a woeful first half, have cost us 3 points today, or have cost us at least a point today, because we were better in the second half and we were playing a little bit more freely. And had there have been 10 or 15 minutes more, we might have gone and got an equaliser. But the first half ultimately was the difference. Was the difference. I mean, the Blues says Martial was injured, mate, got a knock in the warm up, but he played for half an hour, so he couldn't have been that hurt, could he? I don't know. I don't know. Ultimately, it was a team with, that's the difference, I think, between a side that are really well organised and are working hard and are grinding out results, and a team that have got genuine quality in there. And Manchester United have got genuine quality in there at the end of the day. An 80-90 million pound kid on the wing who scored however many goals for them already. One of the greatest footballers of all time on the other side. They've got genuine world-class quality, and we haven't got that. And that's why in the second half, when we were pressing, we were getting at them, and we were looking like we were a little bit more in the game. That was why we ultimately couldn't make anything of it. But look, it is what it is. We've lost the game of footy. We move on to Spurs, which will be difficult. Newcastle, which will be difficult. At the end of the day, as I said, we were poor today. There's no hiding it. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no glossing it. We were really, really poor. Gordon, Garner, I thought Mikalenko, Coleman, Mopey, Gray. Again, really, really, really poor. I thought Iwobi made the mistake for the second goal, but I thought he was the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt today. Onana was good, and I thought both centre-halves were solid. But look, ultimately, we pick ourselves up, we move on, we forget about it, and we go again. And that's all we can do. And, we see what next week brings. But anyway, look, I'm going to leave it there then. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Tank says, I feel Frank waits too long to make his substitutions. Gordon may get his act together. All that Chelsea talk is messing with his head. Listen, for me, we can sit here and talk about Gordon or Gray or Garner or Onana. Dominic Calvert-Lewin should have been on at half-time. It's as simple as that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin should have been on at half-time. Billy says we can't win every game. We take this defeat and we move on. We're a much better side now than last season, so that means we're going in the right direction with the Toffees. Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. Sam says absolutely shambolic first half. Cost us. Second half showed how average United are. Goodison was weirdly quiet tonight. Too tough one to take because we simply didn't turn up. That's it. We didn't turn up. We weren't very good. We didn't turn up, and we gifted a team with real quality 2 opportunities that they're obviously going to score. I mean, when you give a lad who's got 800 odd career goals, a one-on-one, he's going to fucking score it. It's as simple as that. But we move on, we go again, and we put it behind us. Anyway, big thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We will be back with the player ratings very shortly, so look out for those. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section if you're watching the YouTube video as well. Not a great result, not a good performance whatsoever, but not the end of the world by any sense of the imagination. We put it behind us, we move on, and we go again. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.